Hey y'all, how's it going? Monday lesson. We're here online again. Welcome. So, first thing we're going to do is talk about what we are going to be covering this week. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff to do with decimals. All right, so you got an introduction to decimals before, probably in fourth grade, where you went and learned up through the hundredths. All right, this year, we're going to get to a smaller decimal than hundredths. So you have tenths, hundredths, and then even smaller yet, thousandths, right? So we'll do a lot to learn about where the thousandth is, how much a thousandth is worth, and everything like that. So before the end of the week, you should be able to read, write, and represent decimals through the thousandths. You should be able to compare and order decimals to the thousandths. And you should also be able to round decimals to tenths or hundredths. We won't do that all today. We'll just start off by talking about what decimals are. I can represent, this is your I can statements for the week. They're on the front of the class if you look, which are I can represent decimal place value to the thousandths. I can compare and order decimals to the thousandths. I can round decimals to the tenths or hundredths. All right. So by the end of the week, you should have a check mark next to all of those things saying, yes, I can represent decimal place value to the thousandths. Yes, I can compare and order decimals to the thousandths, and yes, I can round decimals to tenths or thousandths. So most of these skills you've done before, just not to the thousandths. All right. So some of it will be review, and some of it will be brand new. Okay. So let's take a look. First off, study the following image. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this image really quick. One of the things to note is that we are moving to decimals. All right, so remember they're going to use base 10 blocks for all sorts of different things. Base 10 blocks are basically a tool. All right, so just like anything else, these are tools. All right, just like a hammer is a tool, right? There's different uses for hammers, right? You could use a hammer to hammer in a nail. You can use the opposite side of a hammer to pull out a nail. A hammer is a tool that has multiple uses. All right. So are base 10 blocks. These are tools that have multiple uses. So before we knew that this was 1, right? When we're talking about whole numbers, this is 1, this is 10, and this is 100. All right. That's not the case with decimals. All right. It's the opposite. This is 1. This is 1/10, and then this is 100th. All right. So when we look at this picture right here, what we're looking at, let's count the pieces. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces. All right. So if this is our whole, one whole, then that means we have 10 tenths. All right, that we're looking at. Now, only 3 of those are shaded. So 3 of the tenths are shaded. 3 of the tenths are shaded. So this right here actually represents, when we're looking at this in decimal form, 3/10. Remember, the decimal point means that the whole numbers are over here, and then the pieces of numbers are over here. All right. So this number right here that we're looking at would be 3/10. We're seeing the shaded parts, 1, 2, 3 of them, and then there would be 10/10 in total, but we only have 3 of them shaded. So this model represents 3/10. Remember that 3/10 can also be said as a fraction. If you say these two numbers, they sound exactly the same. This is 3/10. This is 3/10. So 3/10 the decimal is equal to 3/10 the fraction. And you can actually just change a decimal to a fraction by saying it out loud and imagining it in the other form if it's in tenths, hundredths, or thousandths. So close your eyes real quick. I'm going to say one, and then I'll point to the one that I was saying. Guess which one it is. Am I saying the decimal or am I saying the fraction? 3/10. All right. Did I guess or was I saying the decimal or the fraction? I was saying the fraction, but it's hard to tell, right? Because it sounds exactly the same. So the first thing we're looking at is this is a representation of 3/10. This is what it looks like in decimal form, and this is what it looks like in fraction form. But all of those have the same value of 3/10. All right. So 3 of these in decimals. Come back and we'll talk some more.